Welcome to the Air Shirley Regional School Committee meeting for June 4th. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded. Any audience member who wish to record any part of the meeting should inform the chair, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the mass wiretap statute. The listings of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items may, in fact, be discussed, and other items may also be brought to discussion to the extent permitted by law. Per our policy BEDH, public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between citizens and the school committee. It's an opportunity to express an opinion on issues of school committee business. Citizens will have 3 minutes to express their views. Any staff member addressing the committee is reminded of their obligation under state and federal student record laws, their obligations under state and federal student record laws with respect to maintaining the confidentiality of student record information. That said, I'd call this meeting to order. Michelle, will you do roll?
Mr. Bresnian?
Here.
Mrs. Kennard? Here. Mr. Flinty? Mrs. Reshoots? Here. Mr. Luca?
Here.
Ms. Stan?
All right, with that, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so our first agenda item is, I think, Mr. Christie, the recognition or the introduction of our new student representatives.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Renda and members of the Air Shirley Regional School Committee. I'm thrilled to introduce you this evening to our new student representative to the school committee. Last year at this time, I was able to speak to you about Devin Deliani and Nia Florence. These remarkable young women did a phenomenal job explaining the nuances of high school life, and for Devin, the college search process. This year, as we say goodbye to Devin, we welcome Colin Holbrook, a current sophomore. Colin Holbrook is a student in the sophomore class who will next year be a junior. Colin is involved in hockey, robotics, soccer, spring track, and NHS, as well as serving as a class representative to his grade. Colin is also an excellent student who has been described by his teachers as gifted academically and the nicest student you will ever meet. Colin has an infectious smile that I'm sure you will enjoy, and I'm sure you will enjoy hearing his perspective on high school life. Nia will be returning next year as a senior. Nia, as you may remember, is a founding member of the RDA, which is our Racial Diversity Alliance, where she is also a member of the Student Council E-Board, where she heads up the public relations. Nia is an accomplished musician, taking part in both the high school band and choir. Nia also plays softball and is a member of NHS. Nia has been an absolute joy to work with this year, and I know you will continue to be informed with information about the high school, and she will make you laugh with some amazing anecdotes about her experience. I'm thrilled again this year that we will be able to have the perspective of two students, each of whom is heavily involved in Air Shirley High School life. I know that both Nia and Colin are thrilled to share with you tonight some end of the year experiences that they have and some of their summer and future plans.
All right, amazing. Take it away. Feel free to address from there or use the podium.
Okay, so one big thing for the end of the school year that I've started doing is the college process. So I just recently started writing a college essay, and that's been kind of difficult trying to find the topic to write about because there's so many things that you can write about in your college essay. But trying to find the perfect one has kind of been hard. Another thing relating to college is I recently went to my sister's college graduation, so it's kind of seeing like the future of what I want to do is graduate college, obviously. And the fact that she went and graduated from the college that I want to go to, it's kind of like seeing myself in the future and just being proud of my sister for graduating college.
So it's towards the end of the year for me. I don't have a ton going on, but I'm really happy that MCAS is over. Been doing it since 5th grade, and I'm kind of happy that I won't have to do it again. And out of all my classes, like I'd say the most fun thing I'm doing right now is the cookie project that I'm doing in my chemistry class. We're substituting ingredients with other ingredients that wouldn't normally be in a cookie. My favorite example is probably mayo cookie that I made. It actually tasted pretty good. So yeah.
Another like big end of the school year thing was we just had prom, which was really exciting. I got to go to prom. It was pretty fun. The music could have been a little bit better, but you know, there's always next year.
It's prom.
There's always next year for better music, so I'm hoping next year we have like 8.
Was it a DJ or a band?
It was a DJ.
Okay.
I was hoping maybe the DJ had some better like dancing music, but it was just like, yeah.
Okay.
For the summer, I'm starting a job this summer at Johnson's in Groton. I'm really excited. It'll be my first job ever, and I really need to start that because my parents are really tired of me just asking for money all the time. So that job will be really helpful.
I already have a job that I was working at, so I'm gonna continue doing it at the summer. It's at the Pleasant Cafe down in Air. I'm enjoying it there. It's kind of nice being able to have my own money I can spend. Don't have to rely on my parents' money anymore, which is nice. I just got my driver's license, which was fun. Like it's more freedom, I feel like, being able to drive everywhere. And yeah, I'm gonna be continuing to go to robotics because that goes through the summer every Monday.
Good.
And for summer plans, I'm going on a trip to Florida with my family. I'm really excited to go to Disney World, especially Epcot, because I want to eat all the food. I really, all over my TikTok For You page, I see all the Disney World food, so I'm really excited to try that.
Over the summer, I'm going to Cape Cod with my family, and I'm excited for that because I love Cape Cod. Go there a lot. So yeah.
And that's all we have for you today.
Go ahead, Joyce.
For my please. What college?
Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Oh, nice.
With a great salon.
Yes, with the great salon.
So Colin, anything kind of goals or that you're hoping to get out of this? Anything that we can do to make this a good learning experience for you, or?
I'm kind of just happy to be here, so I don't really know.
Good. Well, welcome. Great to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Ashley.
Well, appreciate you.
Oh, wait. Got this side of the table. It's all right. You can stay seated, but I don't know, Ashley, if you had any questions. If you'll humor me for a minute, Colin, you're on the soccer team. Are you helping with the soccer camp here this summer?
I think I might. I was going to talk to Coach Giusto about that.
Okay, great. If you do and you see a 3rd grader named Kai, really push him. That is my son. He's very excited about it. I'm curious, Nia, in terms of prom, how does prom come together? Do you know how, who picked the DJ? Who's on the hook?
Well,
is that something you can influence?
It's all the class council, so it was the seniors who all decide that. So that was all them.
Okay.
I wish we had a little bit more of a student opinion when making some of those decisions about, they should have sent out a playlist where you could add a song or two, so it was really diverse in music for everybody. But it's really the student council who plans prom and makes those decisions, so we really didn't have a say in really prom.
And so is that something that when you look ahead to this coming year, what are the opportunities for you to influence that? Do you, Colin is a class representative for the juniors, or
Yeah.
will be for the juniors, so I don't know, is that an opportunity? Is that something that you'll put on your agenda for the year, or we're gonna hope for the best?
I think maybe, especially since it's a senior class and I'll be a senior next year, and being on e-board, e-board is the top out of all of the there's the class councils, and then there's the e-board. So I guess I can technically just pop in and be like, hey guys, what are you doing? let me see. Can I have a little bit of a sneak peek of what's going on and give them suggestions on what they can do to better prom for everybody?
Great. Yeah, sorry for pushing extra. And I think, again, like you're, active students in this community, the school is going to be better because of you being engaged, and whether it is advocating for activities or making sure you have the best DJ at prom, like that is on you as members of this community to make sure that, we're meeting your needs. So I would just encourage you to do that. And to Kevin's question, we love the updates. It's great for us to be able to hear about things like prom and sports and getting a driver's license. It makes us feel young again. And I want this to be something that is, it's great. You can put it on your resume, you can put it on your college applications. And if there are things that we can do to help you build specific skills or create opportunities that will make this more than just a resume bullet, let us know. I'm happy to, Principal Crispy, you can reach me. Let us know what we can do to make this something that is valuable for you. Again, it's great for us, and I want this to be reciprocal. So don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to recommend Mr. Principal Christie, for your DJ next year. Excellent taste in music.
So I will say, I actually enjoyed the music of the prom this year. So I did not recommend any songs, but there was a wider selection of 90s era songs.
All right, I'm the co-senior class advisor, so I can tell you how that happened. The senior class student council put out a Google form and asked everyone what their favorite songs were.
Okay.
And then compiled that, gave it to the disc jockey, and went from there.
I didn't get that form.
So
I think it only went to the senior class.
Oh. There we go.
The DJ was also reasonably priced, which for this area can be challenging.
yeah.
So we found good to work with.
He was exceptional. Friend of a friend.
Yeah, and so someone who we certainly are looking to rehire for future events. So certainly the possibility of widening our playlist is out there.
So the question is, are you going to let everyone have input, or are the seniors going to choose the playlist again?
Thinking about your experience as a
a
junior,
good question.
think about that as you become a senior and have the opportunity to influence how you want the.
Suggest that to them.
Yeah.
We have social media today. They can just put something on Instagram and just send, and everybody sees Instagram. They can just put it on Instagram and send us a song, and then they'll have hundreds of songs.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you again. It's always a joy to have our high school representatives. I'm going to keep us moving. Dr. Renda, the recognition of retirees.
Yes. So we are going to be recognizing some retirees tonight. There are some that either were not able to make it tonight, or we found out late, and their award will be in later, and we'll be honoring them this fall. But what we're having done tonight is we're going to have building principals come up and recognize the retirees from their building. And we have 3 of the 4 buildings here, and we will start with Principal Lewis.
Still the best.
Start with the best. That's what Spencer just said. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I am here tonight as a colleague to honor the exceptional service of Karen Lindsay to the Air Shirley Regional School District. She's had a profound impact on our LAW and middle school communities. Karen's remarkable work ethic and genuine concern for our students' success in occupational therapy has set a gold standard. She consistently gave 110% in her evaluation reports and team meetings, maintaining a professional demeanor throughout. Karen's ability to connect with and support our neurodivergent students, thoughtfully tailoring her approach to meet their individual needs, has made a lasting difference. Her departure leaves a void that will be sorely felt by all. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Karen for her outstanding contributions and wish her the very best in her future endeavors. I'm jealous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your service.
Mr. Christie, we'll just go right down the line.
Sure. So I thought tonight was a roast. Tom Brady apologizes that he can't make it. In all seriousness, it's with mixed emotions that I have the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the retirements of Chuck Wood and Terry Wallace. Chuck was one of the first people that spoke to me when I took the position here in 2018. He was also the first person to attend a co-teacher training that same year and to champion co-teaching at the high school. Before becoming a special education teacher at Air Shirley, Chuck had a career as a businessman. He left business feeling like he had more to offer the world and came here to make a difference in the lives of young people. And so 8 years ago, Chuck came here. An avid skier, Chuck has not let a knee replacement slow him down on the trails or on the soccer pitch, where he's worked as a goalkeeper coach at Westford Academy. We won't hold that against you, Chuck. Chuck is also, unfortunately, an ardent Manchester United Red Devils supporter. I support Chelsea, and so this has given us loads of dialogue through the years. I'm going to greatly miss talking with Chuck about the English Premier League soccer. Chuck, we're going to miss you, but we wish you all the best in your retirement.
Thank you.
Terry Wallace, I believe, started here when she was just a teenager, as her 31 years in the district don't seem to have aged her at all. Terry Berry, as I call her, started working in the cafeteria before working in the special education department and Page Hilltop before joining the high school in January of 2003. Legend has it the floors of the Mohawk and Thumpers are still reverberating with the crazy dance moves that Terry and Deb Rader put on display back in the 80s and 90s. Always one for a good joke, even at her expense. Terry's been the life of the high school for as long as anyone can remember. Terry runs a number of events at the high school, ranging from both senior scholarship and awards night, as well as Panther Awards, to sending student transcripts to colleges and universities. Terry asked me earlier in the year if I would miss her next year. My answer is yes. Terry, there is no one who could replace you. No. Thank you, Terry.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Principal Ulrich.
Good evening. It is with mixed emotions that I congratulate Heidi Garofalo and Joan Malillo on their retirement. First, congratulations, Joan, on your retirement. Your dedication as a special education teacher has left an indelible mark on countless students whose lives you've nurtured through deep, caring, and unwavering support. During her time at Air Shirley Middle School, Joan worked with all 3 grade levels, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. During that time, she always worked closely with caregivers to ensure students had a whole team supporting their unique needs. Not only has she been a champion for her students, but she also took wonderful care of her colleagues, for example, printing out schedules for all staff and bringing in fresh apples from home. Her teammates in the special education department and on the Purple team will miss her partnership and passion for learning. Joan, as you transition into this new chapter, we hope you'll enjoy more time with your beloved grandchildren and husband. And I just learned, I hope you enjoy your travels on the rivers of Europe. She'll be heading off that way. Your tireless advocacy for students will be missed by many and remembered fondly. Thank you for all you've done for our students and staff. Now for Mrs. G. Congratulations on your retirement, Mrs. G. You will always be Mrs. G to me. Some people just have that presence in a school. She's Mrs. G. I can't go with Heidi for some reason. So your time as a special education paraprofessional has been a joy to be a part of. While at Air Shirley Middle School, Mrs. G worked in our specialized programs for students with intellectual disabilities and those on the spectrum. She has a remarkable ability to make everyone around her feel seen and cared for. I'm confident that that feeling will ensure she is remembered fondly by both students and colleagues alike. Her hard work and commitment made it possible for her students to access classes and socialize with their peers, enriching their educational experiences. Those students always knew Mrs. G was there for them, and I can't overstate how important that is. As a member of our staff, she nurtured not just the students, but also the staff she worked with, creating a supportive and positive environment. The front lobby will certainly not be the same without her warm conversation and laughter greeting everyone each day. Mrs. G, your kindness and dedication has made our school a better place, and we wish you all the best in your retirement. I hope you enjoy that time with your husband and grandchildren. And also, I should note, I just heard that she is going to be volunteering at Loaves and Fishes and doing more community service even in her retirement. So just continuing to to contribute to our community. So thank you for everything and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Renda.
So there's
Oh, yeah,
one
please.
more. Tonight, not technically a member of our staff, but Mr. Jeff Thomas is retiring from the rec department in air, and the amount of support and volunteer time that he's given to the district certainly warrants recognition.
Amazing.
So Mr. Kendall.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, on behalf of the district, acknowledge Jeff on his retirement. I can tell you, I worked firsthand with Jeff for the last 6 years, and he's been an invaluable resource for me, both on dealing with people, which he's excellent at, but also field maintenance, and if we needed anything. We obviously went through a lot of things together between COVID and gym windows and scheduling, that type of stuff. And he's always been very flexible and easy to work with. I feel like he's a staff member here, even though he's not. I mean, he's been up here working on our fields and helping us with the grass and getting fields lined. And at the middle school, at the high school, it didn't matter. If I called Jeff and said, "Can you help me?" he always said yes. He will definitely be missed by, I think, everybody in the town of Ayer. Certainly, he's had an impact on pretty much every student. When we had our rally this winter, spring, we brought Jeff in. He didn't know. I brought him in, and we basically had everybody who was impacted by Jeff stand up, which was everybody, because everybody in some way, shape, or form has something to do with Peroni Park or the Parks Department. So, Jeff, congratulations on your retirement. Welcome aboard, and thank you for everything.
All right. On behalf of the school committee, thank you, principals, Steve, Dr. Renda, and of course our retirees. This district wouldn't be what it is without you. You've given so much of yourselves, as evidenced not only by the kind words, but the outcomes that our students have seen. You should absolutely enjoy your retirement and know that these doors will be unlocked for you. You come back anytime you want. We could always use the help. And so volunteer, substitute, the door's open. And just let us, maybe take a few months first, but certainly an hour or two. But my sincerest thanks. Again, our school district does amazing things every day for kids, and it's because of all of your hard work and years of service to this community. So thank you.
Mr.
Joyce.
Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to call out to Terry Wallace, because coming in from the outside and being more than welcomed and helped with food drives and all kinds of stuff, and I'm always a pain, and I never have anything done, and she always helps me. And this is not part of the job description. And so when you get receiving like that, and you're not in the building, I think that speaks volumes of how the building runs, how the school runs. Thank you, Terry. We've done it for years.
Thank you all. So many years.
Mr. Chair, if I may, there are 3 retirees that I just want to mention tonight that will be coming in September. First on the list is Mr. Fred Deppy, the principal of Page Hilltop. He had 16 years in the district as principal and 47 years in public education. Linda Burnell, the educational team lead for grades K through 5, 28 years in the district, and Marion Martinson, paraprofessional at the middle school, 20 years in the district. And again, we will be inviting them back in September for recognition. We wish all of our retirees happiness, success, and good health as they begin their new adventure. So thank you all for your service.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry for...
It's well deserved.
Okay, everybody down to the pick.
I'm sorry? Oh, thank you.
They used to bring the check.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Universally beloved, Thomas said. From day one when I started, like, just all positive.
All right, moving along to public comment. Do we have anyone on the Zoom? Okay. Anyone in the room?
They're all gone.
All right, well, yeah, could be someone. All right, with that, let's move to the consent agenda. We've got several minutes and payroll warrants and AP warrants to approve. Any discussion? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Do you want to read the warrants or do you want to?
I would,
No, we don't have to.
yeah.
I know we don't have to, but we don't have anybody here to read it to, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think when we enter the motion, I think we can list
Mr.
the
Chairman, I
ones.
will
Yeah.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes regular session minutes of May 15th and executive session minutes for May 15th, both for release, and 5 AP warrants, 3 AP warrants, and 2 payroll warrants.
All right. Any further discussion?
Second.
All right. We don't need a roll for this, right? We can just do a...
Yep.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, aye. With that, let's move on to new business and Steve Kendall.
So we're proposing 2 new co-ops, both if needed, but because the MI requires like 60 to 90 days advance notice on any new co-ops, we try to approve those in the spring through the league. They were already approved through the league. One is for us to be a guest in a co-op with Littleton for field hockey. We anticipate, based on word of mouth and talking with students, somewhere between 4 and 6 students participating in that co-op with Littleton. All practice and games will be played at Littleton High School, or buses leaving from Littleton High School to destination. The second would be Littleton joining us as the host for volleyball. I don't anticipate truly needing that after visiting the middle school and meeting with students about the possibility of playing volleyball, but we won't know that for sure until August, so it's important to have the co-op ready to go just in case it's needed. So, and in both cases, that'll work too, because Littleton's in the same boat with field hockey. But we wanted to bring it to you guys to get your approval as well, to keep our both programs vibrant. I know we're not far away from getting a big influx of volleyball players. Again, go back to Jeff and Mrs. Tavares starting a youth volleyball program several years ago, and those students are about 6th or 7th grade now, so we anticipate in the next 2 years a pretty good influx of volleyball players. Each co-op is a 2-year cycle. They're approved for 2 years. And the goal really is to eventually, for those programs, either to have their own or for the program that's the host to grow enough where they don't need the co-op.
And so when you say we might not need, that's because we've got middle schoolers who would fill our own team and we might not need the Littleton players to fill the team, or because we might
Because
not?
our high school numbers will be high enough.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the MI required, there's a minimum number you can have to be able to request a co-op. For
Okay.
volleyball, it's 18.
Okay.
Which, if even half the freshmen who say they are interested in volleyball come out, I think we'll be well over.
Okay.
In field hockey, it's 15. Littleton anticipates 13 plus whatever middle scores come up.
Okay.
So I think the field hockey is probably a more likely scenario for the fall.
Okay.
Since I know we've got 3 definites and then 3 maybes
Okay.
for field hockey.
Yeah, the volleyball I was definitely interesting to me because we played Littleton in volleyball, I believe, right? And
They don't have a team.
They don't.
They've been
Okay.
talking about adding one for a few years, but have been unable to garner enough interest within their school. They anticipate at most 6 students coming.
Okay, yeah, I was curious about the numbers.
He had done a survey, and he said he has 9, but he said 3 of them. He said they're not gonna do it. So it would be 6 at most. He anticipates.
And is it co-op for? Is it only varsity or it could be JV?
It would be for both
Yeah.
levels, or if there was a JV for a JV2, then for JV2 as well.
Okay.
So is Littleton about the same size we are?
They're about 100 students bigger at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. Thank you.
We're one of the very few schools where numbers seem to be at least steady, if not growing in most sports. A lot of schools are losing numbers. I'll credit our coaches for that. They do an outstanding job of 1, coaching, and 2, recruiting kids and getting them involved in activities. And both our PE teachers here at the high school are excellent at getting kids involved in sports. So,
I think our athletic director deserves some credit for that too.
well, thank you.
No, I think your enthusiasm, I tell all kinds of kids I meet, like, you could come to Air Shirley, and when you walk in the door, the athletic director will ask you what sport team you want to be on, and so you'll be playing sports before the day's over. And they go, oh, yeah?
We've got a few that way. I don't play anything. I'm like, well, let me tell you about what we have.
Right.
Well, you can say that. He can't. That might be an MIAA
I can't
violation.
I can't tell them until they're students here.
Yeah.
Once they're here, though, they walk in the front door.
And these aren't stars I'm recruiting, you understand, it's just.
Yeah.
So if we feel like we do have enough to field a team, would we really not move forward with the co-op, or?
I'd like to have it just in case, because if I've learned over the years that sometimes 8th graders will say they're interested in something, and then when the time comes, they don't actually follow through, because we could be at as few as 17 for volleyball, based on conversations I've had with students. Doesn't mean we'll use it, but I'd like it to be available should we need it.
What's
Like I
the
said,
top?
if we're over 18, it won't even be on the table.
What's the top cap for these 2
Top cap?
events?
I mean, for
Yeah,
3
for
teams.
how many kids can we handle in, well, you got girl,
We could
men's
do
and
a
women's.
JV2 team, you could have up to 36, probably 12 per team.
So we could use them. They'll have a good event.
But again, we won't if we're over 20, because the MI won't even, over 18, because the MI won't even approve it anyway.
They won't
The MI
permit
won't
that?
Deny it. Yeah. We have a provisional approval from the MIA to use it if needed. So we'll have our registrations open through mid-August, and then if we're at 16 or 15 at that point, I would reach out to Littleton and incorporate
Grab,
them.
see what you can grab. And is field hockey the same number?
Field hockey is a little lower. I think it's 15 is the number. Which
You said that.
To me feels low.
Yeah,
Play 11
doesn't
on 11, and it is probably it's a tough sport. I don't think people often underestimate how tough you have to be to play field hockey. It's a pretty challenging and dangerous at times sport. That ball's pretty hard, and the sticks are solid wood.
It seems like everybody that I run into now is playing lacrosse. Are we playing lacrosse?
Yes, and I'll bring that in our sports update.
Okay, thank you.
Our girls lacrosse team is going with Groton Dunsmore, our boys are with Lunenburg. And actually, one of our teachers here coached the Lunenburg team this year, so.
It's the coming thing.
Yes, it's been growing for us over the last few years, so.
Thank you.
So this is, you need to vote for this. And again, I would entertain a motion to approve our entrance into the co-ops with Littleton for volleyball and field hockey.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve entering in the Midline Wachusett League Co-op with Littleton for volleyball and for field hockey.
Great.
For the next year, is it
Yeah,
for
we'll
a
start
year?
this
Yeah.
fall. If
So for the
needed.
24-25 season.
24-25.
Is that the way to do it?
If there's not further discussion, I have a second. And with that, let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. You've got your 2 teams.
You got your
Congratulations.
teams. Go.
Yeah.
Go, Panthers, go.
So sports update, it's been a great spring, and it's still going. Where will I start? We'll start with track. So track has had, as it seems like every time I come here, track has had a lot of success. They had the state championships a couple weeks ago. We had 2 teams win a state championship, 2 relay teams and an individual. Our 4x400 girls team, Jordan Kozakowski, Chandra Eli Johnson, Elizabeth Cruz, and Emily Churchill won the Division 6 state title, breaking their own school record probably the 4th time this year. So they won the states, and then they finished 8th at the All States, which is all divisions, so the top rated teams from each division participate. The 4x400 boys team of Don A. Arnold, Cole New, Jacob Teo, and Arthur Ribeiro also won the Division 6 state championship, also finished 8th at the All States this past weekend. They have officially qualified for New England's. The girls, I think, are still waiting to hear. But the 4x4 boys have qualified for New England's, and they'll compete at UNH this Saturday at New England's. Congratulations to Mr. President. His daughter Isabel was the state champion in the 400-meter hurdles, which is impressive enough as a sophomore, but I think also, just to make it even more impressive, she also ran it in the middle of running the pentathlon events. So pretty much ran from, I believe, was long jump she ran from to go run to the start line, run the 400 hurdles, win, and then go back to long jump or shot put or discus or something she was participating in. So congratulations to Isabel for that. And she also had a pretty good performance at all states in a very, very competitive division. Not an easy event to place at the all states. We did have 2 students also qualify for nationals from our high school team. Jake Leone qualified for freshman Jake Leone qualified for nationals in the 2 mile. And 8th grader Jalea Mays qualified in the triple jump for nationals, and they both be competing in Philadelphia at the end of the month. At Saturday middle school track state meet, we had a student win the state championship in Division 3 in discus. E.B. Levy, an 8th grader at the middle school, won the state championship there, so congratulations to him. And it was a very successful middle school track season. 47 students participated. We won all but one of our meets. The only meet lost was to Hudson in the last meet. So we did extremely well. Actually, it was to Hale at Hudson, Hale Middle School out of Stowe in the last dual meet of the season. Baseball won their round of 32 state playoff game yesterday. They defeated Monson 6-1. Tyler Crawford struck out 15 batters in that game, which we believe is close to a school record. We're trying to track down Justin Lamro to find out if that's accurate or not. He wasn't sure yesterday when he was here. They'll play tomorrow in the Sweet 16 at home against Ware High School at 4 p.m. Should they win that, they would play Saturday or Sunday in the Elite 8. Last year they made the state Final Four, and we have an opportunity to repeat that. Tyler Crawford, a senior, also our class valedictorian, was our league MVP. So congratulations to Tyler. Softball had a great game yesterday in their state tournament game, losing to Clinton 9-8 in extra innings. They had come in as the 24th seed and really gave the 9th seed all they could handle. Of note in that game, I don't know good, bad, or indifferent, but Gabby Sweeney, one of our seniors, probably set us a record in the state for most intentional walks in a single game. She was walked 5 times intentionally. Once with the bases loaded, which I found interesting. Force and run it. But yeah, so that's got to be a state record. I coached softball for 17 years, and I know I didn't remember seeing anybody intentionally walk that many times. So I don't know, that'll be a good record she'll brag about in 10 years probably. But they had a great year. The boys are ranked 6th in the state, by the way. They were the 6th rated team, so we have home games. First 2 rounds for sure, and then should we win tomorrow and Boston English loses, we would get a home game. If not, we'd be heading to Jamaica Plain on either Saturday or Sunday. Girls lacrosse had their opening round game yesterday in round of 32. Carly Iwa, one of our juniors, scored 2 goals and had an assist as they defeated Wakefield. They play tomorrow against the top seeded team from Medfield at 6 p.m. down at Medfield. Our boys lacrosse team had 7 players participating from Mayor Shirley. They're a very young team this year. Phil Moore, one of our science department teachers, technology teachers, was their coach for most of the season, JV coach, but then elevated to varsity when the varsity coach had to take a leave of absence. Our flag football team participates in the quarterfinals tomorrow at Thursday at Doyle Field in Leominster. They'll play Greater Lowell Tech in the Central Mass playoffs. If they win that game, they advance to the semifinals, but it also secures them a spot in the state tournament at Gillette Stadium next week. So good luck to them at Doyle at 6:30 on Thursday. Our boys varsity volleyball team won its last 4 games of the season. They finished 9-11, just missing out on the playoff berth. They finished 38th in the state ratings. Our girls golf team doubled their win total from last year, winning 2 matches. Emily O'Hagan, our freshman member from Groton Dunstable in our co-op, is our league all-star representative, and we had 10 girls participating in golf, which doesn't sound like a big number, but when I started here in boys golf, we only had 7 players, so to be at 10 in year 2 of golf is pretty impressive, and coaches Casey Sefton and Peter Guglielmi have done a really nice job of bringing girls in and teaching them the basics of the sport. Our middle school softball and baseball teams had successful seasons, and once again I'll thank Jeff Thomas because we play all our games at Peroni Park for middle school softball and baseball, and he always had the field ready and accommodated us. A couple more things from today. Great events at both elementary schools today. Justin O'Brien, our physical education teacher at Page Hilltop, held his annual 6, 7, 8 race, which is during the last month of school. Each student runs a mile run during PE class. Anyone who has a time under 9 minutes will do an all-school race. So all the students and all the staff are out on the track today, watching the 25 or so students, which range from grades 1 to 5, participating in the 6, 7, and 8. So we had 7 volunteers from the high school out there. Ryan Gill was the pacer, and he ended up getting passed by another Bresnahan, Tegan Bresnahan at the end to win that. I believe her time was 6:13, which is incredibly impressive for an elementary school student. And then in the afternoon, I was able to get over to Laura White, and credit to Beth and Dr. Donaher and to Deb Watlett, the gym teacher over there, for a very successful field day today. Perfect weather, kids participated straight through. It was impressive to see the kindergarten, first and second graders out there in the 85-degree heat, running right through the end of the day. And it was well organized, and the kids had a great time, and the staff had a great time, and more importantly, the 30 or so volunteer parents appeared to have a great time at it as well. And then lastly, we do every year give out 12 season awards to our seniors who have participated in 4 years of 3 sports. It's a very impressive thing to have happen. We have more here than most of the bigger schools have. This year we had 5, so I wanted to acknowledge them. Ava Murphy, Marissa Grace, Tess Erikellian, Jordan Kozakowski, and James Churchill were all our 12 season athletes for this year for seniors, and I know we have a bunch coming next year as well with our junior class. And that's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kendall. Dr. Renda, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Yes.
First half?
Yeah. I'm going to share one thing that actually isn't on the report, but I think will be of interest, and we'll share some additional graduation stats after graduation where they're kind of finalized at that point. But we will have 94 students walking across the stage this Friday, hopefully, and all but 2 are receiving diplomas, 2 are receiving certificates of attainment. And speaking of graduation, graduation will be held this Friday evening at 6 o'clock at the Harold G. Norton Field, as long as weather is cooperative. If not, the rain date is Friday, June 7th. If the weather does not cooperate on Saturday also, it will be Saturday inside, and tickets will be needed for attendance. Limited seating, and depending on the size of the graduating class will determine the amount of tickets given out to each senior. If seniors are in need of extra tickets, they must coordinate with fellow seniors. So Friday at 6, if the weather is good. Looks like rain right now. Iffy?
It's
iffy.
I know
30% at 5 o'clock, but then going down.
Yeah.
Mr. Christie is looking at that every 10 minutes from now until
At
Friday.
this point, I'm playing my best Dr. Renda as an amateur meteorologist. We really start looking Wednesday on out. The forecast becomes a little bit easier to determine.
It's not gonna rain.
It's iffy right now. Saturday's not looking great. So we're really hoping that there's going to be a chance for Friday night to happen. We did host inside last year, and it actually went really well. So for the first time in 18 years or so, we would be happy to do it again. I think for most of our seniors, they want to receive their diploma and enjoy a great summer.
Are those flowers sitting out front for the graduation? Because if they are, they're not gonna make it.
So the flowers that are outside, those were from our senior award and scholarship night.
Oh, good, because
So
they're not gonna make
we
it
added
till
those
Friday.
just to the front entrance.
I saw them, I went, what? They're here early?
No, just a little bit late, but
Okay.
for being almost a week after the event, I
Wow,
think they still look pretty good.
they look really good.
Yeah.
My 2.5-year-old son made an appearance on the stage that night.
Good.
Yeah.
Get him used to it, or?
No, it was fantastic, yeah.
And Dr. Renda, just to confirm, because, so Friday, if it looks like rain or is going to be rain, we move to Saturday. Saturday looks like or is rain, we move indoors. But in the update, it says if it looks like bad weather, it'll be indoors Friday. Do you like, is that, so that's it? So if
Yeah,
like Wednesday, Thursday?
That's correct. What we do is starting tomorrow, we'll really start taking a look at the forecast.
Okay.
If Friday night is not looking great, but Saturday does look great at any point during the day, we will move to Saturday during the day where we have a window within there. That's why we don't put a specific time.
Got it.
We want to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility to be able to hold it outside, if at all possible.
Right.
Again, last year I think was the perfect example where, unfortunately, the whole weekend was not great weather.
Yeah.
So we were happy to move it inside on Friday night. If both Friday night and all day Saturday are not looking like it's going to be appropriate for us to be able to hold an outdoor graduation, we will move inside Friday night to the auditorium. And if it's inside, I guarantee it will be live streamed.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you for clarifying.
And for
My
the
apologies.
cynical amongst our viewing audience, the reason why our preference is for outside is because then there's more room for everyone, right? Like we don't need to trade tickets and who can borrow so grandma can come.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We order 1,000 seats if it's going to be outside, and we have all the bleachers.
Yeah.
So we've had very well attended graduations
Yep.
in the past when it's been outside, and be that on the field
Or in
one
front.
year we actually had it in front of the school.
Yep.
That was my personal favorite. I thought that actually had the best image for graduation. But we want folks to be able to attend. This is a community celebration for us.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So our hope is that we are able to do it outside. I know students love the pictures.
Yep, amazing.
So is the plan now for the field outside?
The plan this year is for the field.
Because that setup with the different divisions was
Yes.
the best setup I've ever seen. And it was probably because of COVID, and you had the
Yes.
different divisions. It was awesome, because everybody could see everybody.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I think you'll find something very similar this year. Hopefully, we're, fingers crossed, able to
Well,
be
94,
outside.
you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah. But agree, we want folks to have proper sight lines and be able to hear well.
All right.
The field holds up great in the rain.
All right.
Don't have to worry about any mud out there.
So it rains.
Go ahead, Dr. Renda, last day
All
of
right, so
school.
moving on, last day of school, Monday, June 17th. This will be a half day for both students and staff. Extended school year for students that have an individualized education plan will be happening again this summer. The program will run Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 11:30, beginning Monday, July 8th, and ending on Thursday, August 1st. We were asked by the Air Shirley Education Foundation to make an announcement of a generous donation that they received, and we are certainly happy to do that. So the Air Shirley Education Foundation, also known as ASEF, would like to express its sincere gratitude for the generous donation made by the late Lily Johnston, who named ASEF as her benefactor in her will. An endowment has been created with her donation. which will be used to fund additional grants in each of our 4 district schools for years to come, with the goal of impacting the greatest number of students possible. A scholarship has been established in her name for a graduating senior who plans to further their education with an interest in entering the teaching profession. That is fantastic. We need more of those. For those who are unfamiliar with this special person, Lily was a former first grade teacher in Air Public School Systems for more than 3 decades and was simply known as Mrs. J. Her joy and passion for teaching was evident in the fond memories of her shared by many former students and their parents. Lily loved people and was at her best when around them, making friends wherever she went. Always ready to help when needed, Lily was a volunteer at heart. Her years working at the Shop for Your Parents program brought her much joy. Her small acts of kindness knew no bounds, touching the lives of many who knew her. Sadly, Lily passed away in 2022, but her memory lives on. ASF is honored to carry on Lily's legacy that she has had on our school community, and because of her gift, that nurturing spirit will continue to be present. ASF looks forward to working together with our district educators to continue to provide opportunities and support for all students. Thank you. That is all for the superintendent's report.
That is great. All right. With that, let's move on to new business. Oh, no, not new business, ongoing business. And we're going to talk about a draft implementation plan for cell phones. Dr.
Yeah, so
Renda.
really, a really simple implementation plan, but there's a lot of work that would need to go into putting any change in the policy, especially if the school committee so chooses to collect phones at the beginning of class. It's not really something that we could probably, I don't know if we could turn around and start this day one. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen with not only parents and students, but our teachers also, about how all of this is going to work. And the first step would be actually finalize a policy with the school committee. And as Mr. Chair, you know better than anyone, getting policies to the finish line is difficult and important work. So
although if we only have 4 members present, we can do a lot. So, sorry.
It'll go through like a lot.
You know, that's a good point. So first would be finalizing the policy, then it's communicating to all of our collaborators. So students, parents, faculty members, using all the channels that we do. Then there's the actual logistics and resources, finding the money for if we are getting containers to keep these phones in, which I believe we would absolutely need if that's the route that we're going. And then ensuring that our staff support in the check-in and check-out process is finalized so that on day one when we do start this, there aren't those questions and it works smoothly. We would set an implementation timeline. We would have to train staff, which could probably happen either at the beginning of the year or one of our training days, either in October or November. And then monitoring and evaluation. How is it working? Do we need to change it? Getting some feedback from our teachers and our students and tweaking that as we go. Again, this isn't anything earth-shattering here, but it is something that we need to consider as we're going through considering this, and then if it is happening, absolutely doing it. So my guess is from looking at and talking to some districts have done this and have done it successfully, there are certainly going to be some bumps in the road that we're going to have to make adjustments. With that being said, we, as a central office and administrative team, is something that we would absolutely support if the school committee does decide to go this route.
Joyce.
So, reading this, my question is, if you don't mind, why wouldn't, so beginning of the class for grade school and is going to be the whole day. You check them in the morning and you check them out at night, right? And why wouldn't you simply do that in the other schools instead of having confusion of like picking up your phone, dropping off your phone, picking up your phone, dropping off your phone, et cetera, et cetera. And I think some schools have done that with the locked pouches, I guess, is that the correct terminology? Bags, whatever.
That works.
Huh?
Lockers, bags.
Yeah. And to me, it's like if I'm a teacher and I have to say, okay, everybody put your cell phones here, and then when this class is over, doesn't that cut into my teaching time when I say, okay, here's your phones and get on to your next class? It seems like that passing back and forth is a lot of hysteria.
That certainly would be simpler. However,
I mean, you're doing it in grade school. I've checked with a couple of parents. I asked them, I said, well, we're going to take away the phones, wait till all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And
It would be- I would
one
be
person said, good, I'm glad you're doing it. This was a high school student.
yeah. I would be very interested to see what middle school and high school parents would feel about us having students' phones all day. I think we'll have probably a differing of opinion between parents about whether or not they don't want their students to have access to that phone at all during the day. Though it is an issue at the elementary schools, it's not nearly the same type of issue. I can't tell you the last time I saw a phone.
You kind of started there, so it's like,
Yeah, I mean, we have to have the policy. But there's not many of our elementary school students don't have phones. There aren't many middle and high school students that don't. There's a big shift there. So though we do have elementary school students who have phones, I'm certain if I talk to the principals and administration, there have been issues with cell phones.
every day.
Well, maybe not at the elementary schools.
Oh,
I can tell you for certain that there's issues with the cell phones at the middle school and high school every day. Many of those issues make it up to my office. The other part of that is when you tell an elementary school student, or many elementary school students, to keep their phone in the bag for the day, the phone stays in the bag for the day. When you tell a middle school and high school students to keep their phone in the bag for the day, they don't stay in the bag for the day. There's compliance and the desire to teacher please tends to start going like this after 5th grade. So it's a different animal. And I don't know if we would necessarily have to lock elementary students' phones for the day like we would middle and high school. It's just the problem isn't as present as it is in middle and high. And that's part of the communicating that we're going to have to do with families, is to find out what everyone feels like this, what percentage of our students actually have phones. We can tell you that it's most middle and high school kids. I couldn't give you an accurate number in elementary because we don't see them. But if you go in the lunchroom at the middle or high school, you will see phones in kids' hands at lunch. And that security blanket that the phone is for kids, it's just as much of a security blanket for parents. And I think the parents might have a more difficult time at times not contacting their kid during the day. I've been guilty of it. I have a student in high school, and I wasn't paying attention to the time, and school had just started, and I called her. I was like, and she's like, I'm in class, and promptly hung up on me like she should have. But I did not need to ask her the question I was going to ask her. When I asked her, it was not that important. So for as much as this is about kids, this policy is also going to be about parents. And that's where we not necessarily need to tread lightly, but we need to get the information, see who's going to support
It just seemed like turning it in at the beginning of the class and then turning it back. And
I agree. It's a huge, but I'm making an assumption here. We don't know yet because we're going to have to survey parents to see what they feel about and bring you that information. So ultimately you can decide on what that policy will be. But I have a feeling.
We have 3 parents here. They probably have very different opinions. But I just happened to interact with a couple of them, and this one person said, oh yeah, call the office. Oh yeah, there's a nurse there. They don't need me. And a few other things like that. I mean, I don't know if thousands of kids have gotten through school.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my parents didn't know where I was from 1986 until probably 2002. But
that was in 1986.
What's that?
I said that was in 1986.
That was in 1986, right? It was different.
It's not different.
Yeah.
Kevin.
So I was curious whether you were saying that. So logistically, if it's a bag solution, is it the kids lock the phone in the bag and then they carry it with them and it's just like a locking mechanism, or is it stored?
It would be stored in a class. They would come into class, they would put it in the bag. There's different things. There's individual bags that can lock, and then there's these almost like huge lockers. Everybody puts it in, the whole thing
Cubby
locks.
holes,
Yeah.
All right, so either one of those, though, are in the classroom. So they're not being carried with students.
I have not seen a policy where a
Students walk
student is
in,
carrying
put
their
it
phone
into
with a
a
locked bag. There would be a bootleg
Right, that's
sales
what I was
of
gonna
whatever
say.
that
Those-
key
those
is
would be
to unlock
destroyed
that
within the
bag.
first week,
Someone
every
would make a
single one of them.
fortune very quickly.
Reinforced steel, get serious.
Ashley?
Do we have any input from the teachers on what they would
No.
prefer? Like, because I think Joyce has a good point, like the logistics of when they're doing it. But if you do it before school, then the teachers wouldn't necessarily be involved, and that's not fair to put on, you know, a principal or other administrators. So do they have any input for us on that?
We don't have input yet. We do have input that teachers want it. We have been approached by some of the union members at the high school. They were planning on, and probably they wanted to come and speak to the school committee about this, but there's only one meeting left. So we will check in to see, but I think now that they are aware that there is some support possibly for this, they might not come for that, but
Yeah.
there is interest by the teachers. But the logistics of it and how we're going to roll it out, we have not asked yet.
Okay.
But we plan on asking teachers.
Do we
So
have
they will
any-
have to be involved in some part of this, because if the high school, there's 400 students, there's no way
Yeah.
you can have 2 administrators locking up 400 phones
Well,
daily.
yeah, I just think you need
We
their
need to figure that out.
support. I think
Yeah.
this is so important, and I think we need to figure it out as soon as we, can. But I also don't want to make it a burden on anyone where they're kind of resentful of the.
Yeah, and it's no matter what the process is, it probably will take some time for teachers, but
Sure.
we have to weigh it. Will it get us back time where we're not dealing with cell phone issues?
Yeah.
So it's
Soon it will be second nature. It will be like,
it will be, but I completely agree. Whenever you're doing this type of change, you want the input from the educators, and the people are going to have to make it work.
Yeah.
Joyce, I saw your hand. I'm going to ask 2 questions,
No,
then
go
I'll
ahead.
turn to you.
Thank you.
So looking at the draft implementation plan, I wonder if it's worth adding a step. I mean, I'd love to have us do a field trip. Let's have a student representative, members of the administration, a principal, member of the school committee. There are schools within 30 minutes who have implemented similar policies with similar technology. We should see it in action. We should talk to a student, a teacher, an administrator about how it's going. What were the things they learned from implementation? I think the second thing, in terms of, it sounds like we're not looking to implement this for day 1. So thinking about when, it'd be helpful to think about a target goal and what is a sort of natural moment in the school year to implement something like this. Like a random Tuesday in November is probably going to be hard, but if you can think about, is it
Right
after a
after
break? Is it
Thanksgiving
after,
vacation.
is there a moment when it makes sense to sort of have a massive policy shift? I mean, it's going to be hard anytime, but
It's funny you bring that up.
Great.
We had some thoughts.
love it.
We thought January 2nd.
Okay.
If that is I have to look at the calendar. I believe we're back January 2nd. I don't think that's a Saturday. Or the day we are back from winter break. This would allow us time to kind of work out some of the kinks on this and get all the feedback that we need. This time of year is tough to get the feedback. People are, there's something every night. Teachers are on overload. We can certainly send out a survey now. Response rate will be...
It'll be 0.
It will be less than it typically is. But if we send out a survey, parents might respond now, but if we send out a survey in August and teachers starting to get back, they're going to respond to that.
Right.
And give some input. And that would give us time to work with everyone, because quite honestly, the people we're going to need to work with to create the logistics of this, it's not just going to be Mr. Christie, Mr. Ulrich.
No, it's going to be...
We're going to need teachers and staff. We're not going to have them. The response right now to some of the summer work isn't as high as it was in pre-COVID, and that's understandable. I mean, they need to recharge their batteries. So for this to be successful and not rushed, I would prefer to hit the ground running with the planning in August and when teachers are back and ready to go and really want this, and implement January 2nd when we're back.
I mean,
from break.
if that's a Thursday, it gives you 2 really hard days and then a weekend to catch your breath, because it will be 2 hard days for students and staff.
And we
but-
can start communicating this to students to day one, that this is happening, and so let's get ready.
Joyce?
Quite a few districts have done it already. And so there should be some pretty good groundwork and feeling and pros and cons floating around there. And I'm just talking just in Massachusetts, but it's going all over the United States. So the PD that we have at the beginning of school, does it make sense to start incorporating it into that and getting
We could, but
getting
we have...
opinions from people, if nothing else?
Well, yeah, we could run some focus groups and send out some surveys in August and run some focus groups at the beginning of the school. I think it would make more sense if we're going to do an actual training and dry run of this. We have a PD day, a full day PD day in October, and we have one in November. It's not going to take a full day, I don't believe, but we could absolutely take a part of that day where we have everybody. It's a captive audience. They have to be there to run this and to go through what the process will be daily. And the process might look different at the high school than the middle school, and depending on when we start this, if we decide that this is a K through 12, if we decide this is a 3 through 12 or 4 through, we could have those processes done and ready and give that training on those days fairly easily. That make sense?
I think it might turn out to be somewhat easier than you think it might be.
I hope you're right.
Not Kevin, he disagrees with me.
I'd say, no, this won't be easy, and I think just as, the other thing that I am looking at within the implementation plan, our current policy says, and the current student handbook says, students should not be using their cell phones during school. I don't remember why I was at the middle. My daughter forgot her flute, so I went to the middle school. I happened to look over the cafeteria, and we saw the student advisory sign, right? Or mediation. To get mediation, you need to take a picture of the QR code. Cell phones are part of our school community culture, despite our current policies.
Right.
So there's something to be said for previewing. We are moving to a cell phone-free school where your cell phones will be locked away. That is already our policy that there's something in the in-between of just previewing, and when we see things like that, nip it now, because that will make it easier in January if we are not, again, it's maybe you don't fight the fight in the cafeteria yet, but in the classroom, there's places where I think you can think about how do we make sure that we're not, again, the teacher who's letting students, and I asked my daughter, when do you use your cell phone in school? She's like, well, some of our teachers let us listen to music while we're doing work. Some of our teachers let us, they're using them quite a bit.
Yeah.
For I'll put it in air quotes for those who are listening, but instructional purposes. And I think if we can start to dial some of that back, it will, again, the less we are encouraging students to take their phones out, the easier that transition will be. And again, our current policy doesn't allow cell phones in the school to be used. So, we're just implementing a more rigid policy that has infrastructure behind it.
Right. Which will have to be enforced.
Yep.
And it will be brutal. The first, whenever you make a course correction on these types of things, whether it's the beginning of the year or January 2nd, it's the first 6 weeks of school. Every teacher knows if you set your expectations in the first 6 weeks of school and you hold those very tight and you enforce them, the rest of your year is going to be easy. But we're going to have 2 to 6 weeks of this new policy where kids are going to test it. And they're going to try to get teachers to relent and give in. And as long as teachers know that when they call the office for support, that they're going to get that support, and that phone call home to parents and that meeting with parents if it becomes an issue and it's taken, then they will enforce it.
And prepare your teachers and for the parents. The parents are probably going to be worse. About demanding that their child needs to have access to a phone.
Right.
Not all parents, many parents.
I think it's going to be split, almost down the middle.
I don't think it's going to be everybody.
Oh, it certainly won't be everybody. No,
but you'll have some, and again, it's
and you will absolutely be hearing from some parents that.
Well, those are the parents you're going to hear from anyway, so.
Well, not necessarily. There will be families that you don't expect. Like there'll be. Look, I don't think cell phones have a place in our schools. I'm not thrilled that my daughter's got one in 6th grade, but it happens. And there are going to be plenty of parents who have very real concerns for student safety on a daily basis, and that phone is one way of helping them feel somewhat connected. Again, in 1986, again, I was running around all over and my parents had no idea. And I like to know where my kids are running around.
And you survived.
No, yes, and I know some people who didn't, right? Like child mortality rates have decreased. I don't know. So there is something real about the ability to reach your child. And I think as much as we can continue to reinforce, like, your children are safe in school, we have procedures and policies where you can reach them if need be, and we will communicate well to you if there is an issue. Like, that'll be important, but it's, I don't want to minimize the feeling of families, because I think some of it is it's not flippant.
And that point that you're making is really one of the reasons why some schools turn it in at the beginning of the class. During transition from class to class, kids have it. They can check a text, they can check an email. At lunchtimes, some schools allow it during lunch. They can make calls to the parents if need be. But we're going to have to not only survey, but educate parents on this too. For instance, when there's a school emergency, if there's an intruder, it's actually better if it's the teacher that has a phone and no one else, because the police lines or the parents giving advice that they should not give, and that type of situation actually can make a situation a lot more dangerous than it needs to be. But that comes with, we're going to have to hold some nights, parent information nights, of educating parents why. No, we don't actually want them calling you if there's an emergency.
Well, and then somebody said if there's an emergency in the school, then actually the law enforcement don't want a bunch of parents showing up.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know who is, and then they can shoot the wrong person, because there's people there that...
Well, it certainly makes it much more complicated if there's an emergency and we have parents showing up trying to get to their students, when we have police trying to do their job. 100% correct. Yeah, makes it much more dangerous.
Which was, I guess that's been touted around a bit, so.
Yeah, we had a very minor bus accident a few weeks ago, and we had parents showing up at the bus accident. It created a much more difficult situation for us to manage then, and this was before we had I believe at one point we called and asked. We asked some to come. But this was before, because every kid has a cell phone, and we're at this street.
Mom!
Parents are coming. It created a traffic issue, and of course the bus driver doesn't know who the parents are, right? And actually, in the police might not know either. So they can, for as much as they are a safety device, they can also hinder the ability of the people who are supposed to work to keep us safe.
The professionals.
Yeah, the professionals. Good point.
Before we move to the policy, in terms of the implementation plan, again, I think there's some little things, if we can maybe as a next draft have some, like, put the milestones on here. If we're working backwards from January 2nd, like, what are the dates for communicating to families? Again, I do think we should do some sort of either site visit or someone come here where we can. There's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely
Again,
not.
there's others who have done this.
Field trip.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can all drive to Salem, or a group of us can drive to Salem to see how this, or I think there's some schools in Lowell that have done this. There's schools who have done this within driving distance that we could learn from. Again, you mentioned like family nights. I think those things, making sure that those are called out.
We can certainly do a presentation with the voiceover. We did that for the budget. That seemed to have a pretty good response from people. Very easy to do. But we can also do, certainly have a night where we can have a presentation with questions and answers.
I mean, I think once we have a clear policy on this date, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be at the beginning of the school day. This is what the bag looks like. This is how you can. Some people are going to worry. I mean, a cell phone's a major investment. How are you going to make sure my cell phone isn't mixed up or taken by another kid? Like, those are questions that we need to be ready to respond to. I know, Joyce, the easy answer is we'll keep the cell phone home and then it won't be taken, but it's the...
Oh, I like that. You're quite good.
I knew where you're headed, but again, like being...
No, what I was thinking is you can steal a cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. Where...
I think my cell phone was stolen, so
yes.
it
I mean,
doesn't have to be in school.
yes, I think but those are things that we're going to want to be able to speak to and figuring out, again, is the goal to be able to have a presentation at, X night in the different schools. And even with the rollout, again, it's like, are you starting with the middle school, high school, or do you do it all on the same day? Is it start with elementary, then middle, then high? I think there's things that we can sort of think through and flesh out.
Adding dates for the implementation plan, not a problem at all. The field trip, is that something the school committee would like me to schedule or try to schedule before the end of the year, or are we talking fall?
I think it could be at again, if we're talking January, I think it could be at the beginning of the school year.
I don't think so.
In fact, seeing at the beginning or towards the beginning of the school year might be better than the end of the school year, because you're sort of seeing
How it's working.
how it's working at the start, when again, sort of you're rolling out the procedures to students. So
I will send, in the meantime, I'll send an article from Kim Marshall. I believe it was in Ed Weekly. He's essentially summarizing a study out of, I believe, might have been Norway or Sweden, but it's summarizing some of the benefits of this. There were Norway, 477 Norwegian middle schools banned cell phones they're way ahead of us on this, 2010 and 2018. Some of the results. Number of consultations for psychological symptoms went down by 2 to 3 visits per child per year. Incidents of bullying for girls and boys were reduced. Girls made gains in their GPA and externally graded math exams on an order of a 0.22 standard deviation. That's a significant difference. Benefits were especially strong for students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Excuse me. And the effects were strongest in schools with the strictest bans. So I won't go through this whole thing. This is a very nice summary, and the good thing about this, I believe the full study is free from the link. So I will share this with you. It was pretty fascinating. But they've been doing this for 8 years, which is interesting because we are just starting. I believe this year might have been the first year a school in Massachusetts completely banned them, to have them locked up. There seems to be some huge benefits to this, but there's going to be pushback. We're going to have, it's going to be divided. It might not be 50-50, but there'll be a large percentage of the community who might be against this, and I think we should be prepared for that.
Would there be a possibility to get maybe a guest speaker, or I know where I work, the library and the police department recently had, I want to say it was called Justice for James, or I can get back to you on the title, I can't remember exactly, but essentially it was a family who lost a child to suicide, and it was all due to social media kind of scam. They got caught up in one of those scams. And from what I heard, it was extremely powerful, and I think you might get a lot of people to attend just because of the presentation, not really realizing what the moral of it is going to be, and then kind of maybe teach people without. Some people might be resistant to the information if it's coming from a here's our new policy standpoint, but maybe kind of get them in a different way at first, just to kind of get them, because I don't even think that I realized how bad it was. My kids are too little, they don't have cell phones yet, thank goodness. But if we can kind of maybe get to the parents who, before it becomes a problem. So
absolutely. I mean, we could certainly try. If you could get us that name,
yes,
we could look for them. But I'm sure there's no shortage of people who would want to come out and speak to this issue. Yeah. I mean, social media is maybe the biggest problem that we have to deal with at the middle high school. Especially these TikTok's terrible, Snapchat is terrible. In my opinion, there's no reason for any kids to have them. If you've recently had a 5th grader have the moving on ceremony at Page or Laura White, I asked parents to take a pledge that they won't allow their kids on social media until they're, I think I say 17. It's not working, obviously, but it cuts in on not only teaching and learning, but administrative and the work of our school counselors. It cuts in on time where they could be spending that time dealing with bigger issues, something that should be a more important and bigger issue that they're dealing with. Who created this anonymous TikTok account and posted pictures of kids or teacher? Who posted a video of fights happen sometimes at school? Who posted a video of this fight? How do we take this down? A page dedicated to just being cruel to another student. I mean, and that's, this is everywhere. It's in every district in the country, never mind Massachusetts, or just there shortly. So, yeah, that could certainly be part of how we communicate that out. And if we have an emotional presentation that's tugging on the heartstrings, that's going to be much more effective than me standing up there saying, this is why we need to do this. We can raise test scores. And, not that would be our approach, but
well, I think do both, but I'm just thinking
do both.
a workaround to get those parents who might be a little bit hesitant or think that they really need to connect with their children, because at the end of the day, it's not.
Well, this could happen to their children.
Mm-hmm.
It could. I mean, it happens to lots of families. Kids sometimes feel like if they're doing something they shouldn't on the phone, they can't reach out to their parent. They feel trapped, and they make really poor decisions. So getting that message out is important for many reasons. So absolutely, we could try to make that part of it.
And I think I know that we want to move to that actual policy. I'll just name this policy prevents cell phone use in a very narrow window of time, again, to protect sort of instructional time, presumably. The reality is students will still be using social media on the bus, at home. It was pre-COVID. My then second or third grade daughter had kids taking pictures on the bus and putting Snapchat filters on it and drove her crazy. And that's relatively mild, but again, she was in second grade. It's on a school bus. These policies won't stop that. And so I do think, to your point, there is something around cell phone culture. How can we help? And so that, I think, is something that sort of goes beyond what we can do, but thinking about what can happen through PTOs, through student groups, through other means, I think is helpful. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I think there's probably more, beyond the what's happening during the school day that we need to support families with. Do we want to shift to look at the draft policy?
Do you need this to go into the handbook this summer?
No,
Is there a time thing on this?
No, we could absolutely, the policy?
Yeah,
No, we can do an appendix,
okay.
appendices.
Curious.
Yeah. Then that would just require, I mean, whenever the school committee votes to adopt a new policy, all of our handbooks would need to be updated anyway. So we can certainly add that.
And so when we look at the draft here, what's in blue was added for today's meeting. That is the excerpts from today's handbook. So that is not a new proposal. That is just what is current state. And so it doesn't look like there's anything that we would need to necessarily change in the handbook again. Although I suppose when we actually figure out the procedures, we would want to document them both in the student handbook and.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would take that policy and make it an appendices in the student handbooks.
Okay.
So there was not much added to this.
That's an approved policy, so that is a policy now, essentially. What's in
The blue is what the policy is now.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the red is.
There's two choices there in the red. One is to have the phones turned off and in their pockets, which is currently not really different than what we're asking now. And then underneath where after or is to hand in the phone. And there's really a couple things that the school committee would need to decide. One is if we're going to have students hand in their phones, do we have them hand them in for the entire day and we get them back at the end of the day, or is this going to be a class by class type of hand in and get it back during transitions?
I should know this. Do we have, in the middle school, high school, are there homerooms at the beginning and end of each day, or are you walking into your first period?
There are advisories, but not every day.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're often walking right into right into their first class. That shouldn't matter unless we're asking them to hand them in for the day.
Well, that's why I was asking.
So then
from
they're
a-
going to need,
yeah.
right, they're going to
For
need
logistics.
Because you would, I would imagine, again, you wouldn't want to have a rack of 400 cell phones in the front of this building that as students are walking in, you know, you and, you know, Mr. Christie are there managing. I imagine you'd want to be able to do it within a relatively small group if it was for the day. And so, again, like within advisory, within a homeroom block, it's, you know, you can have that classroom teacher manage it. That's where they start their day, that's where they end their day, that's where they drop and pick up their cell phones. There's obviously complexities with that. Student gets sick and needs to go home early, they need to go and, you know, potentially disrupt the classroom, but.
Go to the office. Go to the nurse.
Not if they would like to bring their cell phone home for the day, right? So if a student checks in at the beginning of the day and it's in a classroom, right? Like, so in any of these scenarios, there's gonna be some operational complexity to work through.
Would you, we can try to set up a field trip before the end of the year.
Try to set up what?
Try to visit a school before the end of the year. I mean, we could, I know, the schools that I know of, I don't believe are holding them for the day. It's a class by class. But at least, even if we just see one of them, it'd be nice if we could see
Or
each.
even if we can get a Zoom with someone, like, can we ask questions of someone now, and what did they consider, what have they done, what were the, and we could see it in action in the fall, but like, again, I think.
We could try to set that up, and I think Zoom is probably easier for the people that we're going to be asking to allow us, just because of the time of year, but we should be able to find someone who's willing to talk to us for an hour.
Yeah, and I think if possible, if we could have like a student rep on our side and a student rep on that side, just as a, you know, again, I know largely we are making this policy decision. Along the way, though, we're going to want to engage students, families, and I think, I don't know, having a 16-year-old on the call to be able to ask them, like, real talk, what happened?
We have 2 student reps to the school committee.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we could certainly ask to join us, and I'd be happy to try to set that up.
Okay.
We can try to do that, well, I was going to say, but no, the school will be out the next school committee meeting. So let me reach out and get some dates that work for whoever we're asking, and we will reach out with possible dates to the school committee. Hopefully by Friday, but if not, early next week.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I appreciate why logistically within a class might be a lot easier, and I can also, like, I don't know, all the things you're trying to prevent, like they happen in the hallway, they happen in the cafeteria, they happen in the, you know, the bathroom.
Yep.
Are you actually solving the problem by having the sort of like...
No. Well, I'd rather learn from others' experience than figure this out on our own. There's no point.
Teachers aren't sitting there telling them every 5 seconds to put your phone away.
Sure, yeah, and that is not an insignificant, like, win. And if our aspirations are more than we don't want teachers to have to fight the battle for 60 minutes, then... Okay. Any other discussion on the policy? All right. More to come with that. No chairperson's notes. Are there any other topics for discussion not reasonably anticipated?
I would just like to put one little note in that the Day on the Hill had very, very interesting speakers for the morning. And the new temporary commissioner, is he going to be commissioner? If he's not full commissioner, I'll be surprised, was excellent. I'm sure he was a teacher, or had been, because after he said something, then he would say it again to explain it better. I'm like, this is good, because he could sort of, they had some other people who had done a lot for schools and stuff. I personally had a problem because all the people I went to see after a wonderful lunch that was prepared by every culinary school in Massachusetts, and these kids were all there with these little things that you couldn't possibly taste them all. But then I couldn't, the doors were locked for every place I went in the State House. So I spent 2 hours finding doors locked. upstairs, downstairs, whatever.
Governor's office?
Huh?
Governor's office? Did you try that
Well, you
one?
were trying to see your local guys and tell them to
Yeah.
spend money on schools, but, you know. I didn't go to the governor's office. I'm sure somebody else did. That's all right. Even their aides weren't there. The doors were locked. I'm like, I came all the way down here and found this in the bowels.
That's too bad.
Well, it was still good, because speaking with the new commissioner, who they gave a very, very, very good presentation about the positivity of education and everything. That was excellent. It was worth the trip just to hear him in a more relaxed organization group, you know.
Is he going to fund schools?
Hmm?
Is he going to fund schools?
Sounds like it. Sounds like it's better than it has been.
I was going to say, it's
Well, that was the whole idea.
it's
The
a
whole
rough,
purpose of that is
rough time to be
is to knock on
making a
doors and
budget.
say, give us money. You know, or thank you for giving us money, whichever way it goes.
Wonderful. Announcements.
My computer has died. Could I defer to someone else?
Right here.
Or borrow?
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
You want it on paper?
Oh, it's okay. Wednesday, June 5th, class of 2024 senior car parade from 3:30 to 4:30. The route is to be determined. Wednesday, June 5th, high school music banquet from 6 to 8 at the high school. Thursday, June 6th, Laura A. White Arts Night, 5:30 to 8 at Laura White. Thursday, June 6th is the middle school spring concert at 7 p.m. at the middle school. Friday, June 7th is the Air Shirley Regional High School class of 2024 graduation with a rain date of Saturday, June 8th, 6 p.m. at the high school. Tuesday, June 11th, the middle school grade 8 graduation with the rain date of June 10th, 6 p.m. at the middle school. Wednesday, June 12th is the Page Hilltop PTO Family Fun Fair from 5:30 to 8 at Page Hilltop. Wednesday, June 12th is the Air Shirley Education Foundation meeting, 6:30 p.m. at the high school. Monday, June 17th is the last day of school, half-day dismissal, high school, middle school at 11:20, Laura White and Page Hilltop at 12:15. And then Wednesday, June 26th is the school committee meeting at 6:30 p.m. in the middle school library.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
And with that, I don't believe we have a need for executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that, I can't see the clock,
8:04.
at 8:04 that we adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.